attorneys.
Okay, why don't we open up the subcommittee of the Commerce Committee? And first one is Senate Bill 202, prohibiting the sale of cosmetic products tested on animals. So who do we have here for the subcommittee?
Okay, this is.
This was business?
Business. Business is
Okay, Weston,
Hunt, Osborne, Ham, Johnson, Abel, Weston, Fargo,
there you go.
6, 7. Hebert and McAleer.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm just reading off the list.
Okay, so you had Abel and business,
Okay. You, Osborne, okay.
right?
read off
Yeah, I
the-
got that. Ham, Johnson,
Ham,
Abel.
Johnson, Abel, Weston, Fargo, Herbert, and McAleer.
It just seems like a lot of people. Okay,
That's 9.
and it's 5 and 4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
It looks like
2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. I don't know why these were on there.
well, there's too many people here.
Yeah.
um,
That's what I asked.
yeah. So he has on his separate piece of paper. It was Abel, Weston, and Fargo, and didn't have Herbert and McAleer. So you always thought there were 5 on there. So that means I have to have 6. Yeah, well,
You're the chair. You're going to sign anybody.
okay, so I got Hunt, Osborne, Ham.
Yeah, that's our.
Ham. Okay,
And we need
Johnson.
We need 2 more.
No, let's not do that again. Okay, I got Greason. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I got Terry.
Oh, and me.
And Patusek. Okay.
There's our 6.
Yes.
Yes, according to the official subcommittee list that I have here.
Right.
You in fact have 4 Republicans and 5 Democrats.
Yeah. I don't know how that.
You want to change?
I don't. The 4. Those extra 2. I thought were supposed to replace 2 people.
Over here.
The Democrats on the other side. That's what I thought.
Oh, then those 2 on the right.
That Herbert and McAleer were added, and Abel and I thought Abel
And probably
and
Weston. were-
I know, but
were
I'm just
subbed
saying
out.
that's what I thought when we had those 2 names on the side there. But I'm more than willing to. Okay, so.
6 and 5.
All right. 1, 2, 3,
And Terry. Hammond.
6, 7. 1, 2, 3.
7. Okay.
Okay, so here's my list for today. Which I believe I have the power to do this. Okay. Hunt, Patusek, Osborne, Ham, Greason, Johnson, and Terry. Hunt, Patusek, Osborne, Ham, Greason, Johnson, and Terry. On Abel, Herbert, Fargo, Weston, and McAleer.
Yeah.
Okay? 7 to 5. Okay. So we have an amendment here.
1656H.
This is 1656H. How many people need a copy of it?
Who needs a copy? Give me, John, give me another one. I got it.
it. 1656 is correct. Okay. So, Kurt, do you mind coming up and? So you've seen this amendment, correct?
I saw the EU sent it to me on Friday in an email, if it's the same.
Great.
I'm
It is the
just
same.
receiving it officially now.
Okay,
so
but I'm sure your printer printed one out.
essentially, it takes the word cosmetics out and it provides the state of New Hampshire with the ability to ban all products tested on animals for sale. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All products.
Right. So you have been given an opportunity to see this, and you have done your best to find out where I might have dropped the ball by doing
I
this.
provided everyone with our synopsis of the amendment
Okay.
on paper. I hope you can read it, digest it before you discuss it and vote on it.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
could we ask Mr. Ehrenberg to go over what he's sent out,
Sure.
given to us?
Why don't you go over it?
I'll just read it. Dear representatives, the proposed amendments to SB 202 appears to have severe unintended consequences for many essential products. Unfortunately, and we would love to see animal testing stopped as much as possible. I would just say that to state that as a before we begin. Unfortunately, there are many types of products that require animal testing that are not adequately addressed in this language, such as pharmaceutical products. If any of you took a pharmaceutical product this morning, such as I did myself for blood pressure, that would not be allowed because that's tested on animals probably, and that wouldn't be allowed to be sold in New Hampshire under this amendment. Over-the-counter drugs, vaccines, food additives, industrial chemicals, just to name some. And I've just spelled out some of the 4 areas where they would be prohibited, which probably are essential to most of our lives today. And there's a link in the actual email, which I did provide to perhaps not all of you, but to the chairman. Early on, he had this, ranking member Bartlett also had this early on in discussions of this amendment when it was first brought up last week. So the chairman, you have had access to this for at least a week.
Yep.
If you are able to look into these links, there are Food and Drug Administration regulations, all kinds of federal laws and regulations that would supersede anything that this legislature could do on its own. This bill, as it stands and was passed unanimously by the Senate, has well thought out, carved out exemptions. It has passed 8 states. It mirrors a federal law that is unfortunately stuck in Congress, as many good bills are, which is why the industry, the Personal Care Products Association, has endorsed this legislation along with the federal legislation.
Okay. You're repeating what you said in testimony.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so the question I have for you is, there are 2 sections, but I'll start with the one that seems most obvious to me, is Roman E, under 359T2, am I got it right? T1? Let me see this. Where is,
359T1.
Oh, so line 2A of pharmaceutical or
a
medical
pharmaceutical or
product?
medical product. So that is not does not take care of pharmaceuticals, medical devices, vaccines?
I am not familiar enough with the federal law to know, or the exact, the fact that this may or may not pass muster in the courts, et cetera. I would say that it certainly isn't sufficient. But that's my opinion. And I would say it doesn't cover a plethora of other products as well.
I
that
don't
you
understand what a
probably might
pharmaceutical
want
or-
to include
yeah.
in this.
What part of pharmaceutical or medical product does not include pharmaceuticals and
Perhaps you're
over-the-counter
right.
drugs, medical device? What part do those two don't match up?
Perhaps it works for you. It doesn't work for me.
Got it. Okay. So I won't even bother pointing out the other one in Roman numeral 2,
Okay.
which says anytime it poses a human. So. Okay, so this is just we can agree to disagree, but that I did ask you on when I sent you a copy of this to tell me if there was anything specifically in statute that you thought I needed to add to ensure this, and the best you can say is that you think there's unintended consequences. But
I believe you asked me where in the federal law were there conflicts.
and I
Where
would this-
provided that to you. But I think I respond to you
Perfect.
as quickly as possible
Yeah.
anytime I'm
No,
asked.
it's fine. That's great.
And
Okay.
I appreciate I know that this is not customary for you to call on me, and I appreciate the time today.
Right. Good.
Thank
All
you.
right. Any questions for him? Representative Van Houten.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Ehrenberg. Am I correctly pronouncing your name? Ehrenberg? Thank you.
Thank you.
As I recall, when I was reviewing this, the amendment pretty well parallels the original bill. Is that pretty much the case? I mean, it looks as though whoever.
It takes out I didn't write it, but it takes out the word cosmetics, basically.
Right, but it
is
does
the-
pretty well parallel. Are you familiar with any states that are currently following what the amendment indicates about products tested on animals globally? Or would we be the first outlier to do this type of thing?
What is in the original bill?
No, I understand the original bill.
The original
We'll
bill
find
is,
elsewhere, that's fine.
is the same as other,
But the amendment, are you aware of any
I am
states
not.
that are following
No,
so
I
that
am not.
this would be the first?
I am not aware of whether it is being used or whether it would be the first. I can't tell you either one.
So
just don't
may I
know.
just ask you about your opinion of the breadth of this? Is this too broad, in your opinion, to be viable for New Hampshire?
So cosmetics is an area that we are able to actually get this done and test products without animal suffering. And this bill does that. This bill is a great step forward for the animals that are now suffering daily, being tested. We've been very careful to make sure that there are the right exemptions, that all of the areas that people absolutely need the products that are tested on animals will be able to use those products, and that there are no retailer in the state would be held responsible if the manufacturer of the products are responsible, and that no data that is collected anywhere could be used to provide for product being included in as data that was tested on animals could not be included. I hope that was clear. Probably wasn't. Thanks for the question.
Representative Johnson, second by Representative Petusek, moves ought to pass on amendment number 1656. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. One, two. You're not, not yet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the vote. Six. Yes. I take each subcommittee if it's related to that entity. I don't, it's just that one seemed to have some more Democrats than you can shake a stick at, so I decided to beef it up. No, it's not a problem. I was trying to be funny, but okay. All right. So the motion moved Representative Johnson, second by Representative Patusek, moves ought to pass as amended. Okay. Motion clear. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Why did I think there was 6 hands up? Who was voting wasn't supposed to vote? Oh. I did it after everyone voted. Okay. So you're really trying to get me. Trying to make it a point. So you really don't want to take care of puppies, do you? Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm sorry. My personal opinion is I don't know how anybody could be opposed to this amendment. If you really, really care about animals, why would you pick one industry? Oh, because cosmetics are an unnecessary product? Because it's not going to fly. Why? Why would it? Who's going to? Why would anybody vote against this? I'm not killing the bill. I don't think we're. Okay. That's your opinion. That's kill bill. So I guess you're saying the Senate that is going to kill this bill. You could say the governor is going to veto it if we pass it this way. Who says it's not workable? The only person that says is Kurt, and says his opinion. Okay. We don't have to discuss this anymore. We'll take it up on the executive session. Okay. All right. Next up is 355. Okay. 355, we did already take action on this and had interim study. So at this point, I think we'll just leave it at that. Okay.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Is there some reason why we had it on today's agenda?
I did put it on the agenda because I was forcing this bill to be taken up today rather than last week. And I just out of habit thought if any bill that we're taking up, I just was in case there was something comes up, we would have it.
Okay, so we have interim study 5-4 out of subcommittee, is that correct?
Correct. Okay. All right. Senate Bill 340. Senate Bill 340 is still not ready. As you remember, there was some conversation. I think the subcommittee already moved. It had moved inexpedient, as I believe. Is it? And so that will be the pending motion going forward, and hopefully my new amendment will be ready by the time we take it up. Otherwise, I might be tempted to bring my amendment onto the House floor. But at this point, there no need to subcommittee it. I guess I could just tell everybody where I'm at and what I've been doing, so everybody understands what you had when I sent it to you last night. And that is this bill. I guess I would first begin to tell everybody, forget about who requested the bill. All right, you could say Senator Daniels brought this bill in for a constituent, but I would have to say is every time we have changed our liquor laws, and it goes, I can think back when but we had from Lee, for the first person who had distilled vodka, John Stark vodka, and he just wanted to be able to sell it, Flag Hill, he just wanted to sell it in his facility because that was illegal. That the only place you could get distilled alcohol was at the New Hampshire liquor store. So theoretically, he was sending people to the liquor store. He was the only person who requested that bill. There was nobody else who came in for that bill. As far as I know, he might have been the only distiller in the state at the time. So, yes, Representative Bartlett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll say, we did get this email from Aiden Moore regarding the number of licenses that have the direct-to-consumer permit. And the numbers show that only one brewing company has been taking advantage of this permit. Now, would you confirm with me that right now there's supposed to be a limit of 27 gallons
Per individual.
per individual delivery?
Per individual delivery. That is what he pointed out was that the downside of having that per individual per year, it was 27. Was it 27 ounces?
Gallons.
Gallons, right? So that was a per year delivery. So, and was lifted when I did the direct shipping law. And when I did the direct shipping law, I was assuming a case of beer a month. So that's where that number came from, a case of
So
beer a
now
month.
the numbers that Mr. Moore provided to us show that there were 3,509 16-ounce deliveries.
Right. We don't know
But
how many
We don't know
individuals.
because the person that's delivering them has not been keeping records. Is that correct?
No, that's not what happened. The Liquor Commission didn't say that when they had that report issued. They never said, "Oh, by the way, did how many? Give us a breakdown of all the people, and tell me how much you delivered to each one of those people." Now, I would bet you probably think that maybe is a little more too much information to be put on a piece of paper. That would you want the beverage manufacturer stating in writing on a piece of paper distributed to all House reps or all House committee? It came to me and I distributed it to you, but that everybody's listing their names and how much beer they bought this year? No, we weren't going to do
I
that.
don't think that's what I was asking. I think I was asking
About
whether
the 27 gallons.
they were complying with the law as it stood now.
My understanding was that there was compliance. Yes.
How did we know that they were complying?
Okay. Okay. Again,
Because now we have a bill asking to increase it to 50 gallons, and what you're saying is that there's an amendment coming that would not have any limit to it?
correct.
So the 27's out the window.
Okay.
The 50 gallons in the bill would be out the window, and
Correct.
then any limit would be it. So they
Yes.
can deliver as much beer as they want to any individual at any.
Right. So now I'll get
Throughout
into
the
my
year.
second part of my story. Okay. My second part of my story is that if you were to come into go to a nano brewer in this case, or a brewer, and you would go there every day and buy a 4-pack, you would probably exceed that 27 gallons. The point I was trying to make with this new amendment is that no beverage manufacturer, winery, distillery, anyone who produces alcohol, except rectifiers, anyone who produces alcohol should be allowed to do the exact same thing, to give the person whatever they order, whatever they want to buy, as long as they have that face-to-face contact. They know the person hasn't overconsumed. They've got a check on the driver's license. And as a bonus, they cannot deliver to college campuses. Okay? So what I was trying to do is take what we had already done with the restaurants. So if you're going to have any problems with this, you have to go look at the restaurant statute and see that we had already passed all that. And say is that, I have to admit, it never crossed my mind that any alcohol producer would think it's a good idea to deliver to end users. It seemed very expensive, cost prohibitive, and a pain in the neck. But if the fact that we have one, and we know that we have other deliveries that are going on, in terms of we have the restaurant statute, that are delivering alcohol, why not just say once and for all, pass one bill? I mean, that's true. We could just kill this thing and I'll introduce this bill next year. But if we already are so close to knowing exactly where we want to be, why wouldn't it be worth it to try to do it? But if you want to vote against this now, that's fine. And I won't hold it against you when you vote for it again next year, when you see the logic of the idea that we should have a level playing field among all alcohol producers that simply says, if you want to deliver, you've got to use the same requirements that the restaurants have.
So this is now going to open up the floodgates. So
I would
so
guarantee
beer,
you that won't open the
wine,
floodgates now.
Beer, wine, distilled spirits, anything with no limits should be able to be delivered to somebody's home or place of business. Is that correct?
Correct.
So why do we have liquor stores?
That's the old model. And, let me put it this way. To say is that we would only pass that if we got rid of liquor stores? No, we're just saying is why not, if we're allowing other people to deliver, why shouldn't we allow the manufacturer to deliver? What's wrong? Now, I guess if I was Connie, I would say, well, this is trampling the 3-tier model, right? So she's against brew pubs, and yeah, because they're the number one trampler of the 3-tier system. They were the first trampler. See, that was a Stampede that trampled it. Yeah, it exists. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Okay, so Representative Herbert had
You
his
need
hand
your
up
microphone.
first. Yeah,
Representative.
Representative Herbert.
Just a couple questions. Is the tax being collected?
Okay, so what we turns
Well,
out.
not-
Okay, no, this is actually an interesting answer. Evidently, when we passed the direct to consumer statute last year,
Right.
we did not include the 8% tax. So yes, all product will still have to pay whatever their manufacturing tax, whether it's 30 cents a gallon for beer or the whatever the tax rate is, for wine and distilled.
Is this person, are the other retailers that are selling and delivering to places, are they audited? I mean,
We-
do
at
we
this
have,
point-
or are we just taking their word for it?
At this point, okay, we don't. Based on that report, we saw that there was nobody else was taking advantage of the direct to consumer statute other than Abel Ebenezer.
Right, and he paid a tax of like $311,
And he
according to
did-
that report.
And that tax, just so you remember, if you did the math,
Yep,
was 30 cents a gallon.
I didn't do the math. I have the second question. My understanding, the bill that you're citing that we already passed in regards to delivery, the restaurants can deliver, alcohol without really knowing who's actually drinking the alcohol. That was passed in extremis. In other words, we were in a pandemic. The restaurants were struggling mightily to survive. And
Well,
so we know the federal government.
no,
did
no,
quite a
that
few things.
originally was done by the governor's order. So the silver lining of having that originally done by the governor's order was that liquor enforcement actually put in the W-2 piece and the no college delivery. That was actually put in under the governor's order. When the governor's order expired, there was a period of time where we had nothing. And yes, we then passed we basically said that was successful. It was a good business model. Some restaurants continued to want to do it. And so we then passed the restaurant piece outside of COVID.
Well, my B question, if the fact of the matter is, it was the reason I believe the public did not get up in arms because we were now delivering alcohol to a home and with nobody knowing exactly who's going to be drinking the alcohol. And then, but there was a pandemic. So we did what we could to try and help the restaurant businesses who were struggling. The pandemic's over.
Right. And that's
Now
why
the
we
whole
passed the
camel-
direct-to-consumer
camel's nose
statute.
now has gone all the way into the tent, and it's competing against a public system. And you know my view in terms of, financializing public systems. So I do have a problem. I still have the problem. There's no checking on who's drinking it.
I hear you.
And I'm skeptical about some people's views on whether or not they need to pay taxes are quite extreme. And the fact of the matter is, the pandemic is over.
Got it.
The
Okay,
restaurants are
we got that part.
they're
Okay,
blooming. So
okay,
we don't
we
need
got
this
it.
law.
We got it. Representative Bila.
Is it possible to hear from the Liquor Commission today?
It can be. We can have hear them. I'll take some other questions and then I'll have them come up and speak.
Okay,
All right.
thanks.
Representative Fargo was the next one to have her hand up.
I was going to ask.
Okay. Yep. And over here, I saw some more hands. Van Houten.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One thing I'd like to clarify, in your email that I believe came out last night, you referenced 179:15, Roman 3, and you said deleting everything after sealed containers. I just would like to clarify that you're only talking about deleting a portion of a sentence and not the whole rest of it.
Correct. So,
Okay.
yeah, and I would have to say that the new amendment is, it turns out that amendment had the word restaurant in it more than I was paying attention. So the next amendment that I hope to have will actually delete the as provided by RSA 179:15, but will pick up in 179:115 three paragraphs that are in that statute, which are the ones that I'm referring to, which is the having to be a W-2 and that you can't deliver to colleges.
Okay, and may I just clarify an earlier point that you made? My belief in looking at the three-tier system, I'm not saying it's the be-all and end-all of anything, but I think it should be examined. That doesn't mean I'm against any industry. They've taken advantage of the loopholes, the mother may-I's that we've done.
Yeah.
And so I realize the income that we bring, but I also realize that it is incumbent upon us sitting here today to make sure that any legislation that we pass going forward, regardless of emergency action, is one of safety. And you've compared buying a 4-pack on site in person to having a delivery to the home. And you mentioned something about, we know that the owner of that liquor now is not over concerned. And there are issues that they're very different. If I'm on site with a valid ID and you can tell that I'm standing
too much to
upright
drink,
as
yeah.
opposed to falling over, then chances are good I have not overconsumed. But leaving it at someone's door, I think.
No leaving at the door.
Well,
No leaving at the door.
I misspoke. I retract that. I am well aware of what it says in 179:15, and I misspoke on that. But nonetheless, I think it's a different thing to go back to what Chris Herbert was saying, to have someone, you close the door and the liquor is on the other side of that door. I know that there are safeguards that have been put in, but I don't think they're adequate anymore. I think we put them through for the pandemic, for the emergency action, and that was all well and good for that time. But I think we now have the opportunity to look at this more fully and to make it better and more safe. And I will say that I'm actually on the liquor committee. I'm free to say that.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Representative Bartlett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Seems to me, with all of these changes, with all of the discussion, that to do this, to even consider passing this bill without a public hearing would be not a good idea. I think that there are enough stakeholders that would need to be involved to participate in the discussion would be really necessary.
So you're arguing this is a non-germane amendment?
My argument is that we have not had a public hearing on it, and I don't think.
Well, this is a public
move
hearing right
forward.
now. We're having
No,
a
this is a subcommittee.
the
that is not
subcommittee.
a public hearing.
Okay, so you want a public meeting on the amendment. So
That's
you
correct.
are claiming this is a non-germane amendment. So you would like me to hold a non-germane hearing?
I would like to have a public hearing on the amendment.
You want to do that next Wednesday? We can do that. I
I believe we have session on Wednesday.
thought the session was Thursday, but
Thursday, we have Wednesday and
Okay.
Thursday.
so would you like to do it on Tuesday?
I think that we need to have a public hearing on this
Okay.
amendment.
I will check to see with the clerk's office if we can have another public hearing. Okay. Everybody all set? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Representative Greason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. somebody stops by the store and picks up a case of beer or whatever it is that they purchase, and they go home, who drinks it?
Is this a rhetorical question?
Well, it's the argument that's being made.
Okay,
over
I
here that
understand, but
once-
that's a
once-
rhetorical
once it-
question.
Once it is delivered, who's consuming it? Well, once it's purchased at the store, who's consuming it?
Okay. At any rate, Mark, Danielle, you guys want to come up and tell us what you think?
I'm against it. This is just another way of sucking tax money out of the system and giving it to a private business.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, committee members. For the record, my name's Mark Armaganian. As most of you know, the Chief and Director of Liquor Enforcement, and with me today is Danielle Elston, our Deputy Chief and Deputy Director.
Do you want to have the question posed to you so you know what they're asking for?
If that's okay.
Yeah, that's my preference here. Yeah, you're not testifying. You're answering questions.
Okay.
Yes, Representative Van Houten.
Thank you, and it's good to see you. Thank you for being here. I think my primary issue is that there has to be a safeguard, has to be safety here for all involved. I realize some things are not going to be 100% all or none, but do you feel that this amendment, and probably that's not an appropriate question for you, but does this amendment present any loopholes for public safety, particularly things like underage drinking, things of that sort?
Thank you for your question, Representative. So I think as you know, or I hope by now, after 5 years, most of you know that I have 3 spokes in my wheel that I'm very concerned about, always. Industry safety, community safety, and the restricted age access. That vulnerable age group is something that I pay a lot of attention to, and that's why I appreciate your question, more so than the rest of the questions. What ends up happening here is quite frankly, and it was, I think, brought up a little earlier. We're looking at the access as the access point, and the access point is the point of purchase. So our major concern is that the person that is actually taking control of this alcohol is of legal age and quite frankly is signing with the delivery service, signing for that alcohol. And they fall into the categories of no outward signs of intoxication, and is a person that is able to, because of the age restriction or non-age restriction, able to take custody of that alcohol.
May I follow up? Thank you. To address my question a little bit more fully, do you see any further loopholes that are created by this amendment? And again, I do recognize that this is not going to be perfect, as the representative mentioned before. I can buy alcohol and then have 17-year-olds in my home, which of course is another law and another issue. But do you see that this is any other safety ramifications here that have not been addressed or that we perhaps should look at rather than going forward with?
I would reserve the issue of there could be a scenario out there. I will just share a little bit with you. When we got advised of what was going on with this amendment, we went scenario based on it, and that we do that quite frequently. We go scenario based, and we tried to beat this up into the late, I will say, the late hours of the night. We were pushing actually this morning, trying to figure out what scenario would actually create a breach in the system of age access, restricted age access, and we didn't come up with one. That's not to say one isn't there, but in the 2 to 3 people that we had together covering field operations, myself, the deputy, and our licensing side of the house. We did not come up with a scenario that would breach that, other than an unresponsible adult that double disseminates, if that's a term, gives the alcohol to, which is a totally different issue, which I have issue of, and I've spoken publicly about before also, and that's parents or adults of legal age giving alcohol to minors.
Quick follow.
One follow-up.
I
Yes.
think that, and I respect what you said, that you didn't find that loophole that may well be there. And I would just like to comment on that and thank you for your statement. It is probably in our best interest for something that's coming up now, and we haven't even seen the amendment, to look for that loophole, to look, to study, to have public testimony, to do our due diligence here, because I appreciate that you spent half your night doing this for us, but you yourself say that there may well be a loophole, an unintended loophole, and I'm on the liquor subcommittee and have been on the liquor subcommittee, not because I'm an expert on any of this, but because my concerns are typically things like underage drinking, vaping, things of that sort. And I'm coming at it from that perspective. And I'm fairly sure now from your comment that we need to do a little bit more to add to the due diligence that you've already done in order to come to the table with something that would be workable and doable for our constituents, for people who are looking to us to bring some wisdom to the table. Thank you.
Representative Bartlett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I guess one of my questions would have to be addressing what you were saying about somebody buying for underage. My feeling is it's not uncommon for someone of age to purchase liquor, beer, wine for somebody underage. Happens all the time. This certainly would make it easier, wouldn't you agree?
Thank you for your question, Representative, and I feel like I'm at the old garden with obstructed view. I would say that this is a problem. We have talked about it. And it's always been a concern of mine. I don't know if it creates any more than the rest of the system. It creates the same hurdles that we would have in a combination, a grocery store, as we would have in takeout service, as we would have, and quite possibly, I hope this doesn't happen, and we haven't seen it because we are pretty strict with our state-owned stores, but it could happen in our state-owned stores also. Once the consumer gets custody of that consumable product, we hope that they use their best discretion in making those good choices and being responsible. That's why we have laws in this state. That's why we rely on all of you graciously to create them. So I don't think, my humble opinion, I don't think it creates more, but the same concerns are there as the rest of the industry.
May I ask a follow-up?
Yes, sir.
Thank
Follow
you.
up.
Thank you. So in the example of the liquor store, you're dealing with a liquor employee who, one, his job's on the line if he knows that, or the possibility seems to exist that this liquor is going to be just given to somebody underage, and they are trained. Those in a grocery store, again, they're trained. I mean, they card me when I when I buy liquor because it goes through the computer.
Yes.
But do you think by lifting all limits, I mean, there's not going to be any limits to how much can be brought to a residence of liquor over the course of a year? Neither the delivery or those that are accepting, I mean, it's pretty much a confidential type of transaction. Wouldn't you agree?
So the limits that, thank you again, the limits that are there, what I see when this was proposed to us, what I see is this creating parity. We're neutral on this as an agency, but the combinations who have been able to deliver, and I call them combination, grocery store, convenience store, they've been able to deliver, gosh, way before my existence here. And they have no limits. So those same concerns, and for us as an enforcement group, those same concerns are already there with other groups. Like I say, grocery stores, whether it's Hannaford Shaw's, Market Basket, they can do that. They've been able to do that all the way back to, I think, the existence of that license type. If
The
I'm not
grocery
mistaken.
stores don't have liquor.
No,
have
they don't.
wine and they have beer.
No, they do.
And so
Yep.
by, lifting and allowing this for all types of alcohol does change the equation. Wouldn't you agree?
It does because of the volume of alcohol. But again, the standard, what we use as a standard, is the same standard straight across the board. So we don't look at it. Would be like looking at drugs differently. Like some drugs are more acceptable than other drugs. Drugs that are illegal straight across the board. And we look at the alcohol and the youth access as the same way. Whether it's liquor, just because it's a wine cooler doesn't make it more acceptable than a bottle of vodka. We don't look at it that way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Fargo?
Hi, it's nice to see you again.
Hi, nice to see you.
In your estimation, does this legislation give a competitive edge to a company that has the potential to possibly undermine the New Hampshire Liquor Commission?
I don't know. And the only reason I say that is we're on the enforcement side of it and not on the marketing side to actually talk to the people that my counterparts on the marketing side of the house that actually run the stores to see if there is a competitive edge or not. I look at this from an enforcement point of view and a regulatory point of view.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Abel?
Yes, thank you. And thank you for answering some difficult questions. My question goes back to Representative Herbert's comment earlier. Would this pose any new problems for auditing or ensuring that that the appropriate tax is paid?
Thank you, and I can answer that question for you. So the tax that we're speaking about for the manufacturers is paid based on what they're manufacturing. There is no tax paid on what they're delivering. So this doesn't change the tax that's collected or the auditing of the tax for the manufacturing purposes. I think what the tax that everyone is referencing is the out-of-state direct shippers. There is a tax collected with what they ship in. That's not the case to the in-state consumers. So in terms of auditing for tax purposes, this doesn't change what the manufacturers report, what they're manufacturing, and the taxes that they pay on that.
Representative Johnson? Did you have a question?
Thank you. I was trying to figure out. So with this, I just want to make sure I want to clarify something. So if they are delivering directly to the consumer and they pay their taxes that they have to pay based on their deliveries, and that's not taking away from, it's actually could be increasing our state sales tax because we're getting more people buying it directly from them, and we still have the state doing their liquor. So we're actually increasing sales, correct?
It's hard to say because the tax isn't based on the delivery of the products. The tax is based on what they manufacture. So could it increase their manufacturing? I don't know. it's
The
possible.
potential's there.
The potential is
The
there, yeah.
potential is there so that we could increase our tax revenues because we're not only delivering through our state liquor stores and such, but also through our direct manufacturing deliveries.
Correct. This is
Thank you.
specific to the direct manufacturing.
Okay, so I just had a conversation with the House Clerk, and he agrees with the issue of this being a non-germane amendment. And unfortunately, we're out of time to have a non-germane hearing. So at this point, the amendment is withdrawn. Well, actually, we didn't actually put a motion forward. But all I can say is stay tuned. The bill might show up somewhere else. We can't pass this bill at this time. We can't, this cannot take an effect. So at this point, the pending motion is ITL. So
What happened to
I would
the
like us to reconsider that and interim study the bill so that this amendment can always be looked at in the future.
So
Okay, what, I don't hold any secrets. Yes, I'm going to go over to the Senate and give this amendment to the Senate.
okay.
This is a Senate bill. If Gary Daniels wants it to happen, he'll find a home for it, and we'll see it in the committee conference.
Okay, so I'm confused. We had an ITL on a subcommittee.
So right now, the subcommittee pending motion is ITL. Clearly,
4-1.
clearly, I'm not, I'm not happy with an ITL motion because obviously I kept working on this bill, thinking that there was a solution. So at this point, I would like the subcommittee to change its motion to interim study, or we can not do that and just take up interim study when we take it up as a full committee.
Okay, so that's your motion is
It
interim
will be
study.
interim study on this bill.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right. I guess we can just leave it at that. We don't, not necessarily have to have the subcommittee take any action. But I do want to, the key thing is I did want to have everybody have an opportunity to express their concerns and thoughts and about what this bill, what we're trying to do here. So at least no one can say when we get to committee conference or this does reappear that you can't say that you've never heard about this before. So
I'm
otherwise-
really confused now, though. We had a subcommittee on April 14th,
Correct.
and that was ITL 4-1.
Correct.
Okay. Now you're saying we're not having a subcommittee on this?
We could. Would you like to have a subcommittee on it? Do you want to
Well, I thought-
reconsider? We could either we could reconsider our action
Because I'm completely confused now because you were just talking about interim study.
that the Senate Bill 340 can't get out of the because I would want this amendment because this amendment can't be attached to it. And for all intents and purposes, that I'm suggesting that we would hold on to 340 so that if nothing ever happens to this amendment, the rest of the session, at least we have a subcommittee so we can continue to work on it and have a public hearing on this amendment. Well, I guess we won't even need to bother with that because it'll come in as a separate bill.
So how does this go into the calendar?
So you rather have you just rather kill it? I guess the only reason I wouldn't want to kill it is I wouldn't want anybody to get up on the House floor when the committee of conference comes over and refuses the committee of conference on the grounds that well, actually, no, it's not because this language is totally different. That's the whole point. Right?
I thought
So
we
you
had-
can never argue that 340. This is 340. No, I take it back. I was worried that someone would argue against if this amendment showed up in another bill, would argue against this amendment by saying that we killed the bill, but we really didn't because there's nothing in this amendment that really actually refers to the original bill.
So right now we're at ITL out of the subcommittee, which
Correct.
means we're going to exec it in a few minutes.
Correct.
And the recommendation out of the subcommittee is ITL.
At this point,
So that would be the motion in the exec session.
that's fine.
And then if that were to pass that way, it goes onto the calendar.
As ITL.
As
and it'll
ITL.
go- As far as I'm
But
concerned,
you
send it
can
on the consent calendar and send it on its way.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Got it. I think.
Yes, Representative
Chair,
Cherry.
it appears to me there are two ways forward with respect to interim study, and I'm wondering which one you prefer at this point, so we can move things along.
Yeah.
The first is, the subcommittee can reconsider its ITL, yes, it can.
Just no,
Can it not?
we could reconsider
why
ITL
am I hearing
and
you
then
no?
vote interim study.
So,
But
so I'm
we
asking
don't
a
need to
question.
bother.
So, the subcommittee could reconsider its ITL and then vote IS as a recommendation for the exec session. Or we can just kill ITL when it comes before the full committee in the exec session and then do IS. So do you have a preference for which course of action you wish to take?
At this point, I just assume leave it at
So
ITL.
we'll take it up in executive session and we'll deal with the ITL and then the IS if the ITL fails.
ITL's fine.
ITL is fine. You just
ITL is fine.
You just want to, okay.
It was a bad idea to just raise the dollar,
was a
raise the
bad
amounts.
idea. Okay,
That was
so-
a bad idea.
So no interim study, ITL going
Yeah.
forward. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Representative Aaron.
Just have a question. Are we going to caucus before exec?
Yes. Okay. All right, Representative Van Houten.
At the risk of being obtuse or more obtuse than usual, you said you would take the amendment over to the Senate.
Correct.
Could you clarify what the process is for that and why you're doing that?
Senate has no rules about non-germane amendments.
But they're already done with this bill, right?
The
Or
fact
committee
that the bill was
conference.
sitting on the table in the Senate and they took it off and passed it on their last day, evidently they're not done with it. And they will probably be dancing in the street when they see me coming.
So to be continued, correct?
Stay tuned. Okay. Any more discussion? All right. And 319, we do, yeah, we have pending action on that, so there's no need for another subcommittee. Okay. So the subcommittee session for the Commerce Committee is closed. Bam. Okay. And so we'll take.
What happened to 319?
Right. Well, we already know what we're going to do with 319. Right? We'll have a reconsideration on our previous motion, and then we'll just take up a vote.
Okay, I had that on the subcommittee work session.
I know, I told you, I put everything out of
Okay.
habit. I just put everything on subcommittee.
Oh, okay.
That was
got it.
just out of habit. Okay. All right. Everybody take their seats. Okay, are we ready? Everybody in? I guess I should count. Don't I make that mistake again? Okay. Senate Bill 202, prohibiting the sale of cosmetic products tested on animals. Representative Johnson, seconded by Representative Terry, moves ought to pass on the amendment. And for the record, the amendment will need one typo, call it that, in which evidently the reference in Roman numeral 2B, the reference to the Food and Drug and Cosmetic Act 21 USC section, and that is supposed to be 301.
Okay,
So it's line 22 if you have a bill, if you have the amendment in front of you with numbers on it.
21 on the amendment and page two, line 4 on the original bill. 301, it should be. It says
Right,
351.
but the amendment replaces the entire bill. So at this point, so we don't have to worry about we can say, that somebody else screwed up and before we got it, but it was, at this point, this amendment amends the bill by replacing all after the enacting clause. So we're replacing everything in the original bill. Okay? All right. Any discussion on the motion of ought to pass on the amendment? Yes. Representative Abel.
Yes, I believe that the original bill is a much superior bill to the amended bill. And so I urge everyone to vote against approving the amendment.
Okay. Representative Van Houten.
Thank you. Just to reiterate what I said during the subcommittee, it is way too broad a bill. It may have unintended consequences, may have loopholes that are going to be big enough to drive a truck through, and it would quite likely make us the first state to have this type of legislation. And I'm not sure that without further study, it would be a good thing for us to be first. So I will vote accordingly. Thank you.
So, myself personally, I was opposed to this bill from the get-go because of all the exemptions. Yes, I think this is a convoy. When you have a bill that's one sentence, and even in the initial sentence, the cosmetic, it had, but not soap. It had an exemption already in the definition, and then went on and had a second page full of exemptions, which would always caution me to want to be in support of that bill. However, that once the concept of saying is, but why don't we just not pick on one industry? Let's just say, make a statement, which is what this is all it is, if you ask me. Make a statement that says that in New Hampshire, we don't want you testing for animals for any reason. And yes, we understand that pharmaceuticals and medical products and governments will require companies to do the testing, but that's part of the convoy of exemptions that are in here. Representative Below.
Yeah, I'm supporting the original bill because it was proven to me that cosmetics can be tested on in labs versus on animals. So it's they will be able to still manufacture, but they won't be able to test. The other exemptions, they need to use animals, so that's why there's an exception.
I don't get that, but it's your opinion.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Representative Terry.
Thank you. Taking into consideration the federal exemptions as outlined, at least partially, with the distribution from Mr. Ehrenberg. If I'm an animal, I'm not going to care whether it's cosmetics or something else that is causing me pain. Cruelty is cruelty. And so just to select out cosmetics and cosmetic manufacturers seems to me to be particularly cruel to animals. And therefore, I will speak in favor of the amendment because cruelty is cruelty and hurt is hurt. Thank you.
Fair enough. Any more discussion? Representative Belo for a second time.
This bill was proposed for the cosmetic industry.
Okay. Having no more discussion on the motion, the clerk will call the roll on ought to pass on the amendment.
And it's amendment number 1656H. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Representative Petusik.
Yes.
Representative Osborne. Representative Ammon votes yes. Representative Sanborn. Representative Ham.
Yes.
Representative DePalma. Representative Greason.
Yes.
Representative Johnson.
Yes.
Representative Terry.
Yes.
Representative Bartlett.
No.
Representative Abel.
No.
Representative Herbert. Representative Van Houten.
No.
Representative Fargo.
No.
Representative Weston.
No.
Representative Bellew.
No.
Representative Burrows.
No.
Representative McAleer.
No.
And Representative Hunt.
Yes.
10-9.
Okay. Representative Johnson, seconded by Representative Terry, moves ought to pass as amended. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll.
I'm sorry, who were the Johnson and Terry?
Yep.
All right, Representative Petusik.
Yes.
Representative Osborne. Yes. Representative Ammon votes yes. Representative Sanborn. Representative Ham.
Yes.
Representative DePalma. Representative Greason.
Yes.
Representative Johnson.
Yes.
Representative Terry.
Yes.
Representative Bartlett.
No.
Representative Abel.
No.
Representative Herbert. Representative Van Houten.
No.
Representative Fargo.
No.
Representative Weston.
No.
Representative Bellew.
No.
Representative Burrows.
No.
Representative McAleer.
No.
Chairman Hunt.
Yes.
10-9.
I assume there'll be a minority report?
Mr. Chair, I have a
Representative
question.
Bolo.
I have a
Bolio.
question about the proposed amendment. There needs to be a correction.
Correct. The number, that 303.
Right. So
right.
how will that be handled?
Subcommittee conference.
So we'll make that correction and make sure that the right amendment is submitted with the bill. So, yeah, in terms of, the Senate doesn't, they do that all the time. But I don't, normally as a policy, I would never do that. But in this case, it's pretty straightforward. And the fact that that number was a problem from day one, I don't think that we need to, unless you don't want to send this bill to the floor. And in terms of the amendment, we can wait till this afternoon and do it again.
I just don't think it's right.
Okay.
Minority.
All right. So there'll be a minority.
Yes, Representative Bolio will do it.
Okay. And your motion will be, no, their motion would be ought to pass on the original bill. Okay. Okay, we're on to the next one. All right, Senate Bill 355, requiring online marketplaces to disclose certain information to consumers. So, Representative Terry, seconded by Representative Osborne, moves interim study. Any discussion on the motion of interim study? Representative Weston.
Yeah, I really strongly support this bill. I think the interim study will just be a quiet death, and I think we should pass it. I sent around a New York Times article last weekend, which really outlines the problems with Amazon, that they just don't consider themselves a seller, and they get away with having third-party sellers that are just not reputable. And if someone tries to pursue those third-party sellers, Amazon pretty much just tells them to go pound sand. So this is not about the small marketplace, the individual marketplace. This is about Amazon, and I think it needs to be controlled. I think this bill should pass. So I'm going to vote against interim study.
Okay. Representative Van Houten.
Thank you. I agree. I think that there's an immediacy to this bill. Anyone who watches the news, local news, Manchester's been hit in some high profile smash and grab types of things, realizes that the longer we allow this to go on, the longer the bad actors are able to become sophisticated with this. And an interim study will just delay something that retail and consumers are crying for. And if we're not here for both of those parties, retail and consumers both, then who are we here for? So I think it's time that we address this rather than to put it on the table for interim study. Thank you.
So, Representative Weston, I do want to say thank you for sending that along and telling me to make sure I read the last sentence, which I might not have, in which it said the federal legislation is still live. It's still on a bill.
It's stalled. Everything's stalled.
So, but in terms of normally this committee, if things that are still going on in Washington, we usually wait until the dust settle, i.e., when it came to external review, not really external, but balanced billing. Why wouldn't it make sense to wait until after the federal government is acted and then take an action?
I think there are a lot of cases where we don't do that, where we try to push things through in spite of the fact that it should be a federal law. And a lot of times we really opt for a state solution instead. I think that happens all the time.
I'm sure it does, but this one is clearly the state is really inept. All that it can do is ask Amazon to go do its homework. It really has no authority. It really can't force them to do anything. It can't shut them down. It can't force them to do something differently.
There are states that are enacting this now.
I
We're not alone on this. This is happening across the country. And I think it also sends a message. We do influence what the marketplace does. We do it. I know from other experiences like the PFAS thing, the motions that were taking place in Vermont affected the entire industry for ski wax. So we can make a difference, and I think this is an opportunity.
Yeah, I think it gives them false impression that there's somebody out there really doing something. Representative Bartlett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With all due respect, I do see a difference between your example regarding balanced billing, which is in the courts, different than what legislation that is being worked on.
No, it's
because there are
rulemaking.
pieces of the balanced bill section that is in courts, and that was why we put off any further movement on that one.
Okay. Representative Johnson. No, excuse me. I'm grease it. I'm sorry.
It's my flaming red hair.
You look so much alike today.
Oh, well.
I agree with the idea that allowing criminals to get away with their crimes, we want to bust them. No one is trying to enable or in any other way try to make it easy for them to get away with their crimes. We certainly want them arrested. We want them punished. One of my concerns about the bill as it is written is that it is targeting a very select few retail outlets and ignoring what would be much easier outlets for the sale of stolen property. It's not to say that Amazon doesn't have stolen goods. It's not to say Amazon or any other of these large retail don't have counterfeits or anything like that. But the problem is that knowing what the requirements are to be a third-party seller on those platforms and not having those same requirements at other outlets such as an eBay or a Craigslist or things like that. This bill totally ignores those smaller outlets. And so I think that if we're going to do something, let's make sure that we are actually targeting where we need to be looking, where we actually need to be looking. I think Amazon is an easy scapegoat because they're so large. And if we need to address them, yes, well, let's do that. But I think we're ignoring so many other outlets to be able to sell the smash and grab looted goods. So I think an interim study would allow us to better tailor the bill to where we actually need to focus our attention.
Representative Van Houten.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of follow-up points. We're talking here about the potential for counterfeit drugs and medications too. So if we are looking at stalling something that's important for the consumer as well as for the retailer whose inventory is being stolen in a smash and grab, and granted, it is the big guys. The big guys are the ones that are most responsible. I really would like just to point it out that there's a contingency at the end of the bill, which has to do with federal legislation, and it says there's similar federal legislation requiring online marketplaces to verify and disclose certain information if it has become law prior to January 1, 2023. Section 1 of this act shall not take effect. So we are kind of covering our bases all the way around. We are saying that New Hampshire supports consumers, supports retailers, and supports the idea that bad actors benefit from anonymity. And so if we take away their anonymity, then we take away that veil of crime from them. As I indicated in a little to do with my seatmate here when I attempted to take her phone. I have my nameplate here, I have my badge here. If I'm going to be a bad actor, I'm not going to do it unless I'm anonymous. And so I really think that it is time for us to step up on behalf of these people. And we're not hurting Amazon. We're not hurting those big people. We're just asking them to be accountable for the same thing that a brick and mortar store is accountable for. So with that said, I just would like to point out again, there is a contingency here. And so there is a chance for us to do something before the remainder of the states, which are multiples, 24 plus states are at least considering it, before the multiples do it, and will be part of that federal action if it happens.
That's interesting you brought in brick and mortar. This doesn't include brick and mortar, so therefore a brick and mortar person could have bought a trailer load of illegal or stolen products and sell it at half price and nobody would know the difference.
But we have the information on those people. So once we detected something is stolen.
No, they stole it. They brick and mortar. We don't have any requirements on a brick and mortar to tell us who their distributor or how they get their product.
But they're culpable. The brick and mortar store, the seller is culpable. So I go back to the brick and mortar Walmart and say, this is a counterfeit drug. This is the serial number is shaved off the bottom of this bicycle frame. They are culpable. They're accountable. The AG can then step in and take a look at that because we know who they are. We know their phone number. We know whatever. We know contact information. And so we should at least know that about our online retailers as well. Resellers, I should say. I guess not resellers.
Representative Beelam.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just would like to remind the committee members that we had a police chief testifying regarding smash and grabs and in regards to this bill, and he was in full support of this bill. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, but to me, smash and grab implies you did not take the packaging with it, and this bill legislation specifically says it has to be in its original packaging. So in most of the smash and grabs I have, when I see even someone steal a Rolex, they're not looking in the cabinet for the box the Rolex came in. Yes, Representative Bartlett.
But we certainly have the examples right in Manchester of the ATVs, the golf carts. They were stolen in the truckload in their original crates, and they were new in their original packaging.
I guess I missed that one. I
And
just
for
saw the guy with the 80. You stole the 80
$100
country
billion
clubs.
industry
Right.
of theft.
Okay. Is there any more discussion on the motion? Representative Greason.
Thank you this time. I no longer have red hair. nothing in this bill requires any proof of ownership or right to sell a product. How do we know, how does Amazon know that Johnny Bob has the right to sell the goods? There's nothing to say that that 10,000 units of Maybelline mascara he didn't pilfer from Revco or whatever. You know, there's nothing to show that he has the right to sell it. And so this bill does not deal with that. So this smash and grab is not going to deal anything with whether knowing it's stolen goods or not.
Okay, I think we're all set. All right. The motion is interim study. Clerk may call the roll.
Representative Petusic.
Yes.
Representative Osborne. Clerk votes yes. Representative Sanborn. Representative Ham. Representative DePalma. Representative Greason.
Yes.
Representative Johnson.
Yes.
Representative Terry.
Yes.
Representative Bartlett.
No.
Representative Abel.
No.
Representative Herbert.
No.
Representative Van Houten. Representative Fargo.
No.
Representative Weston.
No.
Representative Bellew.
No.
Representative Burrows.
Nope.
Representative McAleer.
No.
Chairman Hunt.
Yes.
10-9.
Okay. Will there be a minority report?
Well, Representative Van Houten will be doing it.
It's
Perfect.
already written, so
Even better.
rewrote it.
And up to pass. Okay, last one. Okay. Oh, yeah, 340. I'm sorry, where am I? Okay, 340. Relative to consumer shipment of alcohol. And Representative Belo, second by Representative Petusic, moves inexpedient to legislate. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none. The clerk will call the roll when he's ready.
Representative Petusic. Yes. Representative Osborne.
He left the room.
Oh. Clerk votes yes. Representative Sanborn. Representative Ham. Representative DePalma. Representative Greason.
Yes.
Representative Johnson.
Yes.
Representative Terry.
Yes.
Representative Bartlett.
No.
Representative Abel.
No.
Representative Herbert. Representative Van Houten.
No.
Representative Fargo.
No.
Representative Weston.
No.
Representative Bellew.
No.
Representative Burrows.
No.
Representative McAleer.
No.
And Chairman Hunt.
Yes. So okay, yes.
You vote yes?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I guess 9-9 because Osborne was out of the room. So what was your strategy? What's your game plan here?
This was on the amendment, right? This was.
No, this is interim study. I mean, it's going to be, we were ITLing 340. No amendment. We were just killing the bill. Why would you guys flip your vote on that?
You know what? We were confused, and I can understand why we're confused considering what happened in the subcommittee. This was our confusion.
Okay. So the motion is passed, but you will.
We're
the
fine
motion-
with,
This is the one where you took in, you.
we're fine with interim study. I'm sorry.
No,
it
no,
was my fault.
we were going to kill it. The
Oh, you're gonna
motion
kill
was.
it. Okay, kill it,
I
fine.
should. Okay.
You can kill it too.
All right.
I'm sorry.
So
I got confused.
Having, all right. So we will move to reconsider the action we just took.
Yes.
Okay. All
It's
those
my
in
fault.
favor of reconsideration, please raise your hand. Okay. Everybody in the rooms raise their hand. All those opposed? All right, that's so unanimous. Okay, so we will take the motion up again. We didn't. It was you didn't have to. You don't have to. It's a meaningless, okay. So you're now.
Sorry. I was
Okay, the
confused.
motion is Representative Belo moves Inexpedient to legislate. Seconded by, Representative Abel. Is the motion clear?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. The clerk will call the roll on inexpedient to legislate.
All right, let's try this again. Representative Patusek,
Yes.
Representative Osborne, Representative Ammon votes yes. Representative Sanborn, Representative Ham, Representative DePalma, Representative Greason,
Yes.
Representative Johnson,
Yes.
Representative Terry,
Yes.
Representative Bartlett,
Yes.
Representative Abel,
This time, yes.
Representative Herbert, Representative Van Houten,
Yes.
Representative Fargo,
Yes.
Representative Weston,
Yes.
Representative Bellew,
Yes.
Representative Burrows,
Yes.
Representative McAleer,
Yes.
and Chairman Hunt.
Yes.
19-0.
Okay, all those in favor of placing on the consent calendar, please say aye. And those opposed, so moved unanimously. So, deja vu. Senate Bill 319, relative vaccine status and wellness and incentives. Representative Patusek and seconded by Representative Bartlett moves we reconsider our action. It's a non-debatable motion. All those in favor?
Wait a minute. I'm not going to second that one.
You said to me earlier that you agreed that we should just do reconsideration.
You got that one past me. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Have somebody else second it. I know I'm going to lose, but
Okay. Representative Sanborn, no. So moves reconsideration on our action where we took, yes, excuse me, Representative.
I'm fine with it going with no recommendation to, to
Okay.
the floor.
All right. All right. So the pending motion is to reconsider our action where we failed to get a vote. Any discussion on the motion of reconsideration? All those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, for reconsideration. Okay. 11, 8. Okay, those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8. Okay, motion carries. All right, the pending motion again is Senate Bill 319. I got my notes here. Okay, so Representative Greason, seconded by Representative Terry, moves inexpedient to legislate. Any discussion on the motion? Representative Abel. Okay, Representative Bartlett.
Thanks. I have to vote against this motion. I feel that this is just an enabling bill. This doesn't say anybody has to do anything. That if a carrier wants to make an incentive, if an employer wants to offer an incentive for vaccination, for this vaccination, then I think they should be able to. I don't think we should be telling them they can't.
Representative Greason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What this bill also does not do is prevent anyone from taking action against anyone who might refuse said incentive for whatever the reasons. I don't want it. And so you can enable them to, you not only enable them to offer the incentive, but you also enable them to punish anyone who doesn't take the incentive. So that's why I believe it should be ITL.
Representative Van Houten.
I simply see nothing that would punish anybody. Incentives are just there if you wish to have them. As we said, enabled. And if I wish to take it, fine. If not, I don't see that I'm going to be punished. I think that we're reading something else into the bill there. I also think that we run our world on incentives. How many of us incentivize our kids to do their homework by taking away iPhones or iPads or whatever the case might be? It's simply a way of indicating what you feel is a just way of doing things. And in this case, the insurance carriers potentially saving itself hundreds of thousands of dollars with people for whom the vaccine will keep them out of hospitals and keep them
not true.
healthier and safer.
Not
And
true.
so I think those are considerations that we have to look at as we vote. Thank you.
Representative McAleer.
It would seem to me that a health carrier is not going to offer an incentive unless they've basically created some sort of an algorithm, algorithm that the cost of the incentive will be far outweighed by the savings of this. So I think this is a whole public health thing. And I think to disincentivize people is wrong. And I think that's what you're trying to do. This should incentivize people to do what may be very helpful and to prevent somebody from taking a vaccine. I also see how this whole anti-vax thing could move over to polio vaccine and some other vaccines, which would be extremely dangerous, extremely harmful to public health and everybody's health. This is a good bill, and it should pass.
You know, Representative McAleer, you absolutely got it right. No insurance company could offer this unless they can document that this is actually will have the benefit that save the hundred thousands of dollars that you claim. Because that's the law. They can do it already. If they can come up with that algorithm today and figure out that giving away some incentive, and no, taking away someone's phone is not, that somebody could get ice cream, that absolutely was perfectly allowed. This bill is totally unnecessary. And frankly, it set the wrong precedent because it really should go and say, reaffirm what everybody already knows, that if an insurance company can document and make a case, I mean, I call it with the guy with the green shades, but the algorithm is a good word too. So, but you're absolutely right. Okay, Representative Ammon.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment. It's interesting that the insurance corporation is the parent in the child parent analogy. So I just thought that was interesting.
Okay, question clear. The clerk will call the roll on inexpedient to legislate.
Representative Patusek. Representative Osborne. Representative Ammon votes yes. Representative Sanborn. Representative Ham. Representative DePalma. Representative Greason.
Yes.
Representative Johnson.
Yes.
Representative Terry. Representative Bartlett.
No.
Representative Abel.
No.
Representative Herbert. Representative Van Houten.
No.
Representative Fargo.
No.
Representative Weston.
No.
Representative Bellew.
No.
Representative Burrows.
No.
Representative McAleer.
No.
Chairman Hunt.
Yes.
11-8.
Okay, I assume we'll have a minority report.
Yes, I'll do the minority report.
Okay. Before I recess exec session, I now have the official copy of the amendment for Senate Bill 202, and I'll pass that around. And so we will correct the files, or did you just sent them? We'll correct the files. So for your records, the amendment will be 1858 on Senate Bill 202. And anybody who'd like a copy of it can come up here and get it.
So I can cross this off and put
Yeah, exactly.
What is it again?
202.
1858.
Okay. Otherwise, let's all head over to Tandy's and have a committee luncheon. Yes, and before we leave, and we'll say goodbye to Tyler. Coming to lunch?
Yeah, I need to click on across the hall.
Got some other nightmares?